This is a brief webinar that tries to provide you with some examples of what an indicator is versus a measure and why you might use one or the other. I'm going to use a simple metaphor here. Here's what we know. We know that there's as much technology in the Apollo spaceships as you have in your car that you drive to work. So the question is, why is it the Apollo spaceships required so many instruments and dials, whereas with just as much technology, you can run your car with only 2 or 3 dials that you really use? There's a number of answers to this, all of which have important information for us about data in organizations. The best answer to this question, I think, is this. There's a higher risk of failure in the Apollo spaceships than in your car. You see, if your car breaks down, you just have to call CAA and they'll take your car off to the mechanic that can fix it for you. Of course, if the spaceship breaks down, you have a serious problem. In addition to that, one person once answered me, "Brett, the answer is obvious. They're all men. They couldn't ask for directions." Well, in fact, in your car, you can ask for directions. There's all sorts of data available to you outside the car. There's street signs and so forth. There's none of that with you on the Apollo space journey. You need to take that with you as well. So I believe in organizations, our journey is much more like driving in a car than the Apollo spaceships. The leadership team, through a scorecard, doesn't need access to all that data. It doesn't mean it's not available. The mechanic can access your car's computer anytime he wants or she wants in order to do the diagnostic work. The same in organizations. We should be able to provide our leadership team with a few simple dials that, if they're not performing correctly, they then can go to the process expert, the mechanic, who will do the diagnostic work and help explain what's gone on inside the organization. So it's important to note, we're not saying you don't need the information, but we are saying provide the right information to the right people at the right time. And leadership does not need to micromanage. Their job effectively is to look out 1 to 5 years. The people in the organization may be looking at 1 to 5 weeks or 1 to 5 months. They're the ones that need that more detailed information. Not only that, the information on your car is not necessarily accurate. It seems to me that the last quarter of the tank of gas always disappears faster than the first tank. When I was talking to an automotive engineer once, they said it's because the tank is not evenly shaped. Well, so that's interesting. They could solve the problem if they needed to. But the issue is we don't need precise data about that fuel. We know once it gets down to the quarter level, or when the idiot light goes on, we better start looking for fuel. Luckily, there's lots of options to us, and so the instrument, although not accurate, is accurate enough for the types of decisions I need to make. On the other hand, we probably need to be very accurate about the amount of fuel on the Apollo spaceships. They can't stop for fuel, and the consequence of running out of fuel is catastrophic. So there are many lessons to be learned through this example, the most important of which is, in the organization, we only need to provide simple enough organization of data in a way that's prioritized so management knows what to pay attention to. But through later sections, when we begin building out dashboards, we now need to provide that drill down detail that's necessary in the level of detail necessary for the sort of decisions that management wants to make. So this is the foundation for our learning about performance indicators that appear in balanced scorecards.